well, Bryan, it's just the two of us now. Like, what? Your husband's not here. My husband's not here.
She's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, stop loving you because the Bible says that,
exactly.
it's evil and it's bad? It's like, no, you're my son. She's like, I would never do that. That's what you hope any boy or girl that is going to come out to their parents hopes for.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Who's Your Daddy podcast, hosted by yours truly, not a dad. But today we are actually interviewing a dad, and I think that's kind of fun, isn't it, Michael?
It's so fun. This trading of the microphone.
No, we're poor. We have two microphones. We are sharing microphones today, so I think that's going to be kind of fun. Michael and I get to share, which is great, you know?
It's working flawlessly,
as you can see. Okay, who are we talking to today, Michael?
We're talking to our friend Bryan. Bryan lives in San Diego. He has two beautiful twin babies, a boy and a girl, London and Brecken. You probably listened to him on our last season, and he's here again today in person. We love that. Thank you for being here, Bryan.
So glad to be back. As it should be, too. I'm the only one that's come in person. So,
I know.
You know.
It's Bryan from Bryan and Chris, Michael. They are known on TikTok and Instagram and all of the places online. So that is a big deal.
Sorry, he's our friend.
I know, but we got to
introduce you as a friend.
Sure. I love that.
Today. Well, last time we had you on the podcast, we talked a lot about your surrogacy journey.
Mm-hmm.
And this time we're going to be opening it up a little bit more. I want to hear more about your and Chris's love story. I want to hear a little bit about your coming out story.
Oh, dear.
Oh,
okay.
dear.
Lots to unpack. No.
And I also want to hear about how things have been going. It's been almost a year since we talked to you on the podcast. Well, I guess like 8 months, but you know, who's counting? Oh, and I think we actually have a Q&A too. A little Q&A with your audience.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
We just put that up on Instagram story, so we'll see if anybody
responds.
Put some questions up there. I'm sure we got some great questions on there. I think that'll be really fun.
And if not, we'll make them up. It's fine.
So that's the topics for today. It's going to be great. Let's start with a little intro from you. Tell us who you are. Tell us when you came out.
Ages ago. No. So I'm Bryan with Bryan and Chris. I am a father and a husband. We have two beautiful children, twins, via surrogacy, who are almost 2 years old, you guys. 2 years old. Time has flown.
Yeah.
Like crazy. It's I don't even know where the time has gone.
Honestly, though.
I'm not even their dad, but I feel like the time has gone by fast.
Well, because the last time I was here was April of last year. So the twins had just turned 1. Yeah. So a lot obviously has happened from then till now. And like I said, there's a lot to unpack. So what do you want to know?
Okay, let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
The very beginning. Your beginnings as a young gay.
I mean, I knew I didn't like girls and I liked boys when I was very, very young. I want to say...
How young?
Oh, like second grade? How old are... What age group is that? Second grade? Elementary school?
Like 8 years old.
8 years old?
9 years old.
Uh-huh. And yeah, I knew I liked boys when I was in school. Again, at that age, you don't really know exactly what that means. It's just like, I think you're fun and you're cute and whatever. And then I actually didn't start dating until obviously after I came out, which was when I turned 19. So like ages ago, almost 20 years ago. Not by choice, but I'm glad that I came out or I'm glad that my coming out happened when it did, just because it brought me closer with my family, learning to accept me even more, just because I grew up in a religious household and, you know, obviously trying to figure out what all of that meant specifically. And once I realized that within the community of, you know, of our church and whatnot, that it's not okay, trying to pray the gay away and trying to, you know, really distract from it and realizing it's not something that can just be gone or be removed. Yeah, it's something that I was born with and something that I learned to accept. But as far as the story of my coming out, pretty embarrassing. As all teens, I'm sure, or not all, I wouldn't say all, sorry, I won't speak for everyone. As some teens, you know, they experience the need to watch certain
media
online
These like online videos,
Online
like
videos.
YouTube videos. I love YouTube.
I don't know if YouTube existed back then. When did YouTube? Back in like 2003.
Tell me more about these
2004?
videos.
Well, it was back in the day of like speed dial up. There was no Wi-Fi, so it took a long time to browse the internet in general.
Said media.
And then to download said media, to then come back and watch it.
Is this LimeWire?
No.
Where were you?
Wrong type of media.
Oh my god.
I don't want to like plug any of the websites.
No. I know. They probably don't
Bellamy.com.
exist anymore anyway.
Some of them probably do, but I don't know. I don't really look at that stuff that much.
I think I know what we're
so.
talking about though.
Yeah. So a lot.
I've caught on at this
before
point.
the days of Sean Cody and all that other stuff, like that didn't exist. It was other things.
Sorry, I not plugging Sean Cody, but like that was like the notorious one in college where I was like, oh my god, Sean Cody, it's
I know.
everything.
And Corbin Fisher and all that stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with this,
such a mood. It's just like a thing, like a theme.
Gay for Pay, I think it was, right?
Oh my god.
Was that what it's called?
I don't know, but I'm thinking of like the college frat, like.
I mean, yeah, it had that kind of vibe, the jock and all that other kind of stuff. It was awkward. But anyway, so dial up usually would be, on my parents' computer in the office later at night when everyone would go to bed. I would surf the internet.
Oh wow.
I think I've said that forever.
Yeah.
Surf the internet.
I remember this. I did this too.
Oh God.
Yes.
And I remember like going on the websites and just be kind of like a little like in shock, but also very much entertained. One day, it was during summer school. Not summer school. It was during summer vacation. I was up late and I chose a movie or a piece of media that I wanted to watch, and it took like 20 minutes to download because again, it's dial up and super slow times. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn off the monitor, leave the computer on, and I'm going to go to my room because I'm like, I don't want to sit here for 20 minutes. It's boring, and I'll just wait. And I fell asleep.
Into the morning.
Yep. And I fell asleep until it was summer, so I got to sleep in. No. Mom and dad didn't wake me up or nothing like that. So when I woke up, I was like in a panic. I literally was like, oh, it's the morning. Oh my God, it's the morning. I fell asleep, And so then I like jump out of bed, run down the hall, run into the office, and I'm like moving the mouse. Because back then when you leave the computer on for so long, it's all that static sound. Do you remember that little tss when the computer would be left on long enough?
Like it was sizzling.
It was sizzling, exactly.
With shame.
Like it sounded like static. And I'm like moving it and it's not turning on. And I'm like, computer's off. I'm like,
oh,
it's strange.
no.
Like a computer doesn't turn off on itself, does it? And I was thinking, maybe it did. I don't know. So then I keep it to myself, but I'm panicking. And so, of course, I'm so stressed about my parents coming home that day.
Mm-hmm.
Not a peep, not a word to me. Like everything was fine. We all had dinner, whatever. A couple weeks go by. I come home from my current job, which was at Pier 1 Imports. I like to say that because that's where I was working. I had my blue apron on. I smelled like candles because that's just what you smelled like when you got home. And my dad was home. My mom was not home from work yet, but my dad was home. He was watching golf. I remember it like vividly. He was in his cream.
So he was watching his program.
He was, yes. Yeah. Yes, his program, which was rated G.
G for golf.
G for golf.
G for golf.
He was in his cream recliner holding a Budweiser in his lap. I remember it. And he was watching TV. And I walked in. I was like, hey, Dad. And he's like, hey. And as I'm starting to walk out of the kitchen to go down the hall towards my room, he goes, hey. And I'm like, uh-huh. He's like, hey, when you have a second, we need to talk. And I instantly was just like,
audible gasp.
Yeah.
Audible
just
gasp.
like right into my stomach. I'm like, okay, trying to keep my cool.
Did you audibly gasp? Because I think I would if my dad said that to me after that day.
After I left the space. I started hyperventilating. My sister knew that I was gay, and she's 3 years younger. So she was probably 16 at the time when this happened. And I run into her room and I'm like, they know Dad wants to talk, and because I think I might have told her like what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, it's fine. If they would have found out, like, and they hated it, they would have woken your ass. Can I say?
Of course. You can cuss, yeah.
They would have woken your ass up, and there would have been a conversation right then and there. She's like, it should be okay. So like, just breathe, gather yourself. And again, this is my 16-year-old sister who's like pep talking me through the whole thing. And she's like, it's okay, breathe. She gave me a hug. I like wiped the tears away, waited for like the redness in my eyes to go away. And then I walked into the living room and I was like, here we go. And I sat down on the couch and I look at Dad. I'm like, okay, so you wanted to talk? And his like feet are still up on the recliner. He like mutes the golf and the recliner just slowly turns in my direction.
Terrifying.
And he's like, so, and I'm literally looking at him like, Yeah. So, and he's like, so you like boys? Like it as a question. And I was like, huh? And I at first wanted to lie and be like, no. And I was like, you know what, Brian? I was like, they've caught you.
Right.
They know where this is going.
Just be honest.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I do. I like boys. And he's like a lot? And I said, yeah. And I was trying not to laugh, but I was like, yeah, a lot. And he's like, okay, fine. And I was like, that's it?
That's it.
And I thought the conversation was over. I'm like, great. And he's like, and as I get up, he's like, no. He's like, you need to apologize to your mother. And I was like, oh no. And he's like, she's the one who found said media on the computer.
I love that we've said media.
And he's like, he pretty much walked me through the whole thing of like, you're not supposed to look at that kind of stuff on our computers. If you want to do that, get your own computer, do it on your own time, but you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, I know, I'm really, really, really sorry. So we had that quick talk and then it was done. And then I pretty much waited for my mom to get home and I was like on the couch and I was like so nervous because I wanted to know her perspective and how she felt because she and I were closer growing up than my dad and I. We didn't have an estranged relationship by any means, but I was just closer with my mom.
Right. Yeah. No,
And she walked in and I was like, hi, Mom. And he's like, hi. I was like, hey, like, I know you just got home, but like when you're settled, like, can we talk? And she knew. And we sat down and had like a conversation for about an hour and both cried. And she was describing like what she found on the computer. Cause when she got ready for work that morning, she's like, oh, damn it.
You're like, Mom, I'm well aware. I hit the download button.
Yeah. She's just like, God damn it. One of the kids like left the computer on because again when you leave it on for a long time it just makes all that static noise. And so of course she goes in, she rubs the mouse, she has to like log back onto the little screen, and as she hit enter again back in the dial-up days it was on for
Sean Cody.
hours. No. There was like not just the video but like all the pop-up ads and everything is just penises everywhere or really inappropriate stuff.
This is like really like textbook.
Oh my God.
Like your parents find porn on your computer.
Yes. And she's like, and she was so like she's trying to use the mouse to find like the X buttons. And I'm like, why don't you just unplug the computer? And she's like, it just didn't occur. There was like so many windows I had to close. And she's like, I had never seen that many penises ever in my entire life. And ultimately the conversation turned to like, I just want you to be safe. Cause again, I wasn't really educated about HIV and AIDS back then yet. And my mom did not grow up or have any gay or lesbian friends either. And so she's like, I just don't want you to get HIV or AIDS. And because that's like, their biggest concern. Because that was like the stereotypical thing of saying like, oh, you're gay, you're going to get AIDS.
I think that's interesting because my mom, I had sort of like a similar just like quip or like comment, of like, well, we just want you to be safe. And and that's all she said, but I knew what she meant. So, no, but yeah, they grew up during that time where they probably knew people. So
yeah, well, especially with the whole AIDS pandemic and everything.
And
stuff. So like, and so yeah, we had the conversation. We hugged and we cried, and from there, it just was like this huge relief. And also, again, like I mentioned earlier, that I was from a religious household, and she's like, "What am I supposed to do? Like, stop loving you because the Bible says that it's evil and it's bad." She's like, "No, you're my son." She's like, "I would never do that," And I had asked her, I was like, "When did you know? Like, did you know that I was?" And she's like, "Oh." She's like, yeah. She's like, honey. Obviously, I always hoped that maybe it wasn't, because she doesn't want. No parent wants their child to go through hardship and things that we've gone through, prior to coming out.
She's like, Brian, you come home smelling like candles. Yeah. Like, I think I knew.
Yeah. No, she's like, no, I knew since you were very little. Even earlier, she thought prior to when I realized it. She's like, don't you like remember like that's why I dressed you up in like hot pink and hot green colors? And I was like. Because you think that's what the little gay boys would want to wear. But yeah, I do remember that. It was like the LA Gecko brand. I don't know if you remember that. It was like a green gecko with like pink sunglasses.
Oh my God, I love those shirts.
Like all the tie-dye blue. Like
I had
she
one of
dressed
those
me up
too.
in all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to laugh. I'm like, Mom, you're so sweet. But she's like, any mother who is present and is, open and aware of their kids and what they're going through. Not 100%, but to some extent, she's like, they have to know. Like these mothers and parents that say, I had no clue. And she's like, how can you not? Like, you're the mom of this child. You are connected to them biologically. You carried them for 9 months. You've raised them. Like, all of the ins and outs. And I'm sure there are exceptions, but I mean, she was just like, I'm your mother. Like I had a feeling, you know.
Honestly, this is like, I mean, it's just so amazing that your parents were so loving and accepting, even amongst a religious household.
I was so scared.
Yeah,
So scared.
terrifying.
I mean, because my mom's side of the family is still uber religious, and there are people on that side of the family that I don't communicate with. I have no ill will or anything, but it would be just they know that I'm homosexual and that I'm married to a man and I have my own family and I don't need that in my life and I'm sure they don't need that me in their life, so it's fine. But it was hard because growing up within our Christian household and going to church and all that stuff, it was just kind of like, am I going to get disowned? Are they going to kick me out? Are they
Those
going to make me
questions are super valid.
go away? Am I going to have to go? What is it? The whole the camp where they try and like get the gay out of you. What is that called? I'm like blanking. I don't know. What is it called?
Conversion therapy?
Yeah. I thought they were going to make me go to conversion therapy,
Mhm.
possibly. But I'm so glad that none of that happened, and I could continue to live my life and learn more about myself and learn to accept myself. And I had them there to support me. It wasn't all like gung ho right in the beginning. We're here for you for all of it. Like it was slowly but surely with them.
Yeah.
But I still had that love and that support.
Were you raised like
Support.
Catholic? You said Catholic, right?
Christian,
Just like
non-denominational.
non-denominational?
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Was it like very like evangelical, or was it sort of like, you know how some of them are just like very involved? They're just like how involved were you in church, I guess?
Growing up, pretty involved. Like
Okay.
like I went on
Matthew was like very involved. I was sort of like, we went to church.
in the beginning.
But I wasn't
Growing
like-
up, it was more just going to church like on Sundays, and that was it.
Okay.
And then as we got older, we got more involved. I would not say that I'm a great singer, but I can carry a tune. I eventually got into the worship team because I love to sing, so that I thought that was part of my way of spreading, the faith.
Mhm.
Doing Mexico mission trips and helping, schools build classrooms or, paint houses and be with the kids. I loved that part of it, not necessarily spreading the gospel, but more like just being there for these kids and these families who are super, super, unhealthy and poor, and just you want to bring them joy and smiles during
Yeah.
those few days that you're there. And then eventually, as I got older, went into small groups and things like that. But when I left for college, I wasn't done with the church by any means, but I still felt like I was accepted a little bit, but also only to maybe their face. But then when I wasn't there, some people were, you could tell that they were like talking behind
Right.
my back or
Mm.
whatever. It was more like that face value,
Yeah.
which kind of hurt. But then there were some people who were like, we don't care. Like, we are here
Beautiful.
to be there for you and support you and love you. Are we going to go to a gay club with you? No. But like, no judgment and none
Yeah.
of that stuff.
That's good. You got a good mix.
Yeah. And then I don't know, like I still consider myself a Christian and that I have my own faith, but I really don't participate in church anymore.
Mhm.
I would love one day to
Oh my
find a
God.
church
I would
that
love to
is-
find one
Mhm.
because I mean, that was such a big part of my life too growing up.
Yeah.
And I miss that community
Yeah,
at some point.
to find that community that's completely accepting, where it feels good and you're not having to walk on eggshells and you don't have to come by
Mhm.
yourself, or that if Chris were to come with me, we don't have to sit separately, or those, or not walk with our
just
kids
like
together.
you, I'm sure you've had good experiences in the church and a community that's been supportive and accepting. And
Mhm.
I have too in some cases. And I remember like going to a couple different churches in Seattle that were super accepting and loving. And and going to those places and having a good community there was just a really nice thing, a good
Mhm.
support to
Mhm.
have in life.
Mhm.
Yeah, when hard things happen, you had this group and they were very supportive. So I
Absolutely.
appreciated at least the community aspect of church.
Mhm.
No, your story, what I love about it, okay, so have you seen the movie Love, Simon?
Yes.
Okay.
I was like, yes, that's with Jennifer Garner.
Yeah. Oh, bless.
Love her.
Bless. It reminds me of that scene, Jennifer Gardner and the coming
Oh,
out
you're gonna
and
make
that
me cry.
mother-son
Mhm.
talk. And that I
Mhm.
know I cried when I saw it the first
Ugh.
time. But that's what it reminds me of. And it's just this very sweet moment
Mhm.
where the walls come down and you're just fully honest and
Yeah.
the mother hears it and she's just like, yes, I love you. I'm here for you. I know.
That's what you hope any boy or girl that is going to come out to their parents hopes for, and that's what
Totally.
that's what should happen. Again, you're their parent, you're their mother, you're their father. You're supposed to love them unconditionally. Me being gay is just a part of me. It's not everything about
Right.
me. So
And we love that part.
Oh, I do. I love it and embrace it.
No, what I love about this is that like the first few episodes of this season, we really dove into Michael's and my coming out stories and then my whole college experience in the closet and coming out then and what happened. And, I went to school at a Christian university and just kind of like those dynamics. So I love starting your podcast episode with your coming out story because it's kind of like a continuation of this narrative of, we are LGBTQ plus people. We started our lives in the closet in some way or another. And we came to a point where we came out and then we found love and then we started families and, we're on that journey. So I just love hearing that beginning. All right. Before we hit the next topic, Michael has to leave because of some wonderful planning things. This is just one of those things where, we mess up.
Well, sure. I don't get to have 5 days a week where I can plan my appointments. So I had to take the only available appointment they had left. And that was at 2:15 today. So
it's a colonoscopy.
Yeah, right. No, it's a chiropractor.
But I love it, we pros and cons,
So
pros and
bye.
cons. I would like to refer to our isn't there an episode where we talk about our pet peeves? The pet peeves.
This has been on the calendar for a week.
I know, but it was going to be at 2:30 and then you called me today or you texted me today and you're like, "Oh, it's actually at 2:15 and I'm going to the gym."
It's been on our calendar at 2:15.
Who checks the calendar?
Okay. So I got to go. Bye.
Kisses.
Love you. Bye. Well, Bryan, it's just the two of us now. Like, what? Your husband's not here. My husband's not here. We are going deep. We're going to tell some secrets, right?
Oh, yes. Deepest, darkest secrets.
We just talk about our husbands. This is going to be great.
They won't know until the podcast comes out, so it's fine.
Yeah. So, like, the coming out story, that was a warm up. We got some more information there. Now we're going to get to the main course.
The main course. So that was just the appetizer. Okay.
Yes. And the dessert.
And the dessert,
which is the Q&A. Okay. So, you talked about how you and Chris met in the first episode that we did with you last season.
Yes.
And I just want to know, like, were there any... I want to hear the tea on you and Chris getting together at the beginning. Like, were there some embarrassing moments? Were there some funny things that happened? Like, what was the first date like?
Well, I was going to say the first date is probably the biggest, best story to tell based on what you're asking. So the first date was a complete disaster. On my part.
Oh, no.
Chris was the innocent victim, unfortunately. So I had just gotten out of a 2.5-year relationship a couple months prior, and I wasn't ready to date again.
2.5-year relationship?
Yeah, we were engaged and everything.
Oh my God. Wait, really?
It was when I moved to Nebraska. That was my ex at the time. I moved to
Nebraska.
Nebraska for him
again?
for like 6 months from
In
like
what
2009, end of 2009 to like mid 2010. So like 6 or 7 months.
Okay, yeah, and then I was there 2014.
Okay,
but Michael was
Michael
there.
was there, right? Yeah. So I moved there for him, and then after 6-7 months, I was like, I can't. Like, it was the worst winter they had in like 15 years.
100%.
I was like, do you want to change the scenery and you want to come back to California with me? And so we agreed to, and that lasted about another year and a half. So when we broke up, I focused on me. I wasn't interested in dating, and but I also hadn't dated for 2.5 years, so I didn't really know like how to date. Technology had changed.
Right.
Things were on our phones, now all these apps. And some friends of mine were saying, "Hey, like you should, get back into the dating scene. Like, have you heard of this app called Grindr?"
Never heard of her.
And I remember thinking that doesn't sound like a name of a dating app. They're like, it's a hookup app, but you can also find guys on there that aren't necessarily looking for that
right
that
thing,
that activity. And so I was like, okay, fine. And so obviously I got on. I'm like, whoa, like this is a lot. Like it's the grid and everything. But I had expanded my search and I had found Chris's little grid or his little profile.
His little grid.
All of his profile or all of his photos, he had clothes on. So that was a start.
Oh.
I mean, it was like
Yeah,
a
you could,
thirst trap. It's all torsos
he's
and
looking
everything
for something
else.
more serious.
Yes, he
has
was.
clothes on in these.
Yeah. And we ended up chatting so I ended the relationship in like early June, and I started talking to Chris like end of August. So it'd been like a few months.
I just think it's amazing and crazy that we both happened to move to Nebraska for guys.
Yeah. Midwestern boys.
Like, that is insane.
Yours worked out, which is
right, but just like the odds of who moves to Nebraska for a guy
my
from the West
family,
Coast.
my friends were like, "You're crazy." And for a second, it was just like I was over the whole California hustle and bustle, so shallow, so
and I was
materialistic.
so over Seattle. I feel that. Yeah,
I was like, I want to change the scenery. I was like, I know there's not going to be a beach. I know it's going to be flatlands, and it's going to be completely opposite from what I was used to. But I was like, you know what? I'm ready for a change.
Wholesome people.
Yeah, and I loved that person at that point in time in my life. So I was like, you know, I'll do it. And so then we started talking, and it actually took like 2 months for us to meet in person.
You and Chris,
because our schedules were just always opposite. Or if I would go on to chat with him, he was not on, and then vice versa. So it was always like playing telephone essentially. And then finally on October 9th, 2011. I drove out from where I was living. I was living in Temecula wine country at the time, and I drove out to Encinitas, which was it's a little beachside town outside of Carlsbad.
Oh, cute.
North San Diego. And I'd never been there before, and we met at this Italian restaurant. And I remember I was really nervous, and there was a lot of drama going off behind the scenes. Somehow my ex found out that I was going on a date, and he was blowing up my phone the whole time I was driving there, and I was just ignoring. I don't know why I didn't think, just turn your phone off. It was just like, no, like, stop calling me, leave me alone. So unfortunately, from the moment we sat down for the date to maybe the last 15 minutes before we got up, he was still calling.
Like, there are 3 people at this dinner.
Leaving me like really like not so nice voicemails. I'm going to tell your parents about XYZ, like all these like almost threats. And I'm like, what is happening?
Definitely a breakdown.
Yeah. And so I would excuse myself after like say 5 said missed calls. It was just getting so much anxiety. I'd be like, I'm so sorry, I have to. And he's like, no, like go ahead. But after like the 3rd or 4th time, he was like, if you need to just go, you can just go. And I felt so bad. I was like, And I remember I had left. The last time I left, we ordered dessert. And then when I came back, the dessert had just went away. And I was like, oh, like the dessert came, trying to like bring the conversation back to him and I. And he's like, yeah, but you were gone so long. I ate it and they just took the plate away.
This sounds like a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. I was like, it was all the signs pointing to, why are you doing this? You should not be dating right now. This is not, this is not a thing. And I felt really bad in the moment because obviously I'm not going to tell someone I just met, oh, my ex keeps calling me. I blamed it on like family, like my sister's having this problem, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm trying to fix it.
I was listening to this assuming that like you,
no,
like he knew.
If I'm going to tell the story, I'm going to be honest 100%. So yeah, I wasn't like, oh, my ex is being crazy. And like, he'd be like red flags, whatever. I'm like, So I remember crying at the end of the date, and because he walked me to my car, and we said goodnight. Like there was no kiss of any kind. That was not going to happen.
You were crying?
I was crying. I was like, because I apologized. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like this is not me. And over the course of the next few days, we were still messaging, and he was super polite and open to and willing to still chat with me. I said, please let's go on a different date, a second date. I promise. Like my phone, I purposely will leave my phone in the car this time, and so I can be present so you can know like who I am and all that kind of stuff. And, he's like, okay, fine. And of course I chose his birthday. I didn't realize it was his birthday. I'm like, how does next Thursday sound? He's like, that's actually my birthday. I'm like, would you be willing to let me take you out on a date for your birthday? And he's like, yeah. So of course at the time he didn't know my financial situation, and wouldn't say I was dirt poor, but I did not have a lot of money. He chose a very nice restaurant because he was very established. He had a great job. He's like, I'm not going to assume that you can't pay for XYZ dinner.
Right.
It wasn't like a Michelin star restaurant by any means, but it was pricier. And I just remembered, I was like, oh, I have that amount in my checking account plus maybe $50 to last me another week and a half. But I was like, I did it. I made it work. And I also got him because I wanted to prove to him that I was listening somewhat during the conversation. I got him a plaid Hollister button-down shirt.
Okay.
Because he was very much into Hollister at the time.
Southern California, Hollister shirt.
And he's obsessed with the blue chapstick. So I got him a little 3-pack of that, and he thought it was so cute. He's like, "You did listen. Like, this is so
That
sweet."
was adorable.
And that date was, minus the expensive dinner part, the date was wonderful. We went back to his place and chatted some more. We made out. No sex.
Fireworks.
Yeah, no sex. I'm not that easy. But I remember staying until like 1 a.m. I didn't have work the next day.
Right,
He did,
okay.
and he was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be wrecked," because usually he goes to bed pretty early. But it was nice. We had conversation, and in between conversations, we were making
good
out
stuff.
and having a good time. And so after that, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I want to see you again. Let's continue to get to know each other. And over the course of months, turned into years. The first full year of us dating, so the following Christmas, I guess, so a year and 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
on Christmas morning, he had a key hanging up in his Christmas tree. And he's like, "I have one more gift for you, but you have to find it. It's in the tree." And it took me forever to find it, and I finally found it. And he's like, he took it from me, and he didn't get down on one knee, but he was sitting on the couch, and he said, "Will you move in with me?" And
That
it
is
was
so
just
sweet.
so beautiful. And from the time I finally introduced him to my parents, which was probably like 4 months into the relationship, they fell in love. They were like, I mean,
He's perfect. Yeah.
he's pretty much like, on paper, in person, he's so wonderful. All of my friends, all of my family were like, "Bryan, he is exactly what you want. Don't fuck it up." Pretty much is what everyone said. So, some
Yeah.
of my friends who are very blunt, they're like, "Don't fuck it up, Bryan." I'm like, "Oh God." And my mom and dad were like, "We basically said the same thing, but we didn't say fuck."
Jeez.
Sorry, I said fuck so many times.
Gonna have to bleep. Bleep,
Bleep, bleep, bleep, bleep, bleep. So sorry. And then we dated for 5 years, and we got married on the same day that we met. So October 9th,
Michael and I
2011.
kind of tried to do that thing too.
And then so 5 years later, October 9th, 2016 is when we got married
So
at a winery.
cute.
We both loved wine. And by that point, we had traveled the
Oh, I
world
know you love
together.
wine.
We love wine. And so
How much do you love wine?
A lot.
Like a lot.
Like a lot. Like
a little bit.
a double magnum a lot. Like I love me
Whoa.
some good wines,
Oh,
some big reds.
I went to a restaurant once and somebody poured me like a glass of champagne from a double magnum. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know how many magnums it was. How do you measure a magnum?
So one magnum is 2 bottles. So double magnum is 4 bottles in one.
Oh, okay.
So
This is probably
I love
like
wine a lot. I won't drink all that by myself by any means, but I love wine.
I think this was like a magnum times 10 then. Because it was enormous. It was like as big as my torso.
I've never seen one that big with champagne. Usually it's just with wine. That's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Sign me up. That's right. So we got married on our 5-year anniversary, and then since then it's been another 7, almost 8 years. We've been together almost 13 years, which in gay years is like 100 years. We always say it's like dog years. You times everything by every year by 7.
Yeah.
And obviously, as a lot of people know here on social media, we started our surrogacy journey family in 2020. Yes. And obviously that was a decision that the two of us came together and talked about, and we wanted to have our own family, and so that's what we did, and here we are, almost 4 years later from when we started our journey, and we have 2 beautiful children that are going to be turning 2 in a matter of like weeks. It's so crazy.
If you want to hear the whole surrogacy story from Bryan, that is from last season. We got an episode with Bryan, and you went. Yeah, you told us everything. It was great.
It's a lot to unpack for that one too. Go check it out.
So much. But we're gonna talk about. They're not quite 2, but kind of like this almost toddler age. You know,
them.
How are things been going this last year?
I mean, it's changed so much since I was here last April to now, almost a year later. So much has changed in such a tremendous and positive way. I mean,
Right.
At that young of an age, they were 13 months old. 13 months old. They made changes on the weekly, if not, every few days.
That's what I think so exciting about having babies
now
in general.
they are fully mobile, for the most part, fully verbal. They're not speaking complete sentences, but they know how to get a conversation across. All of my hard work with teaching them sign language when they were really little.
Oh yes, I love that.
That's helped a lot with more and please,
and enough
all done.
Yeah, all done.
And then obviously like when they were drinking out of bottles with milk, and now trying to get into more words with like, say thank you and learning how to
Michael tried to teach me how to say that too.
Thank you.
I don't sign it or say it, so
Thank
you
you.
won't get it from me.
But yeah, no, every day is an adventure. And you know, we were big on routines very early on when they were
I
born,
remember that. Yep.
which they thrived upon. But as they get older, those routines definitely change, and you need to be able to adapt. You can't expect them to stay in the same routine for forever. They're going to change, and you have to kind of go along with it. And luckily, we still have a great support system. Miss Allison, who is our amazing
Yay.
nanny, she's still with us, and I am just so grateful that we were connected with her, and we have her guidance, and we have her knowledge of not only being a nanny but also being a mom. And she was also a surrogate, so like there's just a
beautiful.
lot of those great connections.
Yeah.
And we have a great village within our family. And now that we've kind of expanded our story on socials, we're getting a lot of helpful and constructive, you know,
Good tips
feedback
and tricks. Yeah,
from
definitely.
parents, especially if I ask for it. I'm like, please help, you know, friendly commentary only. Please don't shame me.
I love the like qualifier on that. Nice, friendly
Yes.
recommendations.
Recommendations are welcome.
Welcome.
If not, please refrain from
Then
leaving.
leave your comments to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But everyone has been so gracious and so wonderful. And surprisingly, even though I'm learning everything and Chris is learning everything as we go day by day, by sharing our story and bringing visibility to our style of parenting, it has helped so many other parents out there, moms,
100%.
dads, caretakers. We get messages and comments every day saying, we have been following you from the very beginning, and our little one is like 6 months behind, and I've been trying to follow and you know, use a lot of your recommendations or hacks that work for your babies that happen to work well for theirs. Obviously, every baby is different, so something that works for Brecken and London when they were really little doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for another baby. But when we do get those, that's what where my heart is. Like, obviously my kids come first in our family and our unit, but like knowing that we're helping families without even knowing.
To have a community of
and to
people
have that
who-
community is just so wonderful. And then to be able to look to them when I need that advice and I need that help, it's been great.
When it's constructive.
When it's
and
constructive,
friendly.
yes. And for the most part, knock on wood.
Yeah.
No.
No, totally. Yeah, I get that. I love that we have to put qualifiers before things like that online because, you know, it's the internet. It's the internet. There's a lot of things out there, a lot of people, a lot of comments.
Yeah, but luckily most I would say 85-90% of our commentary and comments on socials is usually positive, which is nice. We'll still get the trolls and the hate especially when things go viral and whatnot. It's great in the beginning because it's the people that want to see it, and then it keeps getting pushed out to people that don't want to see it, and then that's when we get all the crazy trolls and whatnot.
And that happens to me on YouTube Shorts, especially. I don't know what the YouTube algorithm does, but like, I'm not even kidding. Like 90% of our comments are all like anti-LGBTQ. Like, it's insane. I'm like, just because there's two guys in this video, it's crazy. I don't know what YouTube is doing.
That's another beast too. That's something that we want to try and tackle this year is to do shorts. A lot of people have been asking. I know it's coming. We're trying, but please be patient.
Well, just fair warning on the commentary there. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's interesting. It's just so different from like what you see on TikTok and Instagram. And it's not just us. There's a lot of profiles that get this kind of like horrible hate on YouTube. It's just weird. I don't know like why it pushes it out to people who clearly do not want to see it.
And I mean, and honestly, it's like the algorithm is so smart. It's like, you must have watched something similar to this or have searched for something similar for it to show.
Because they always comment these hateful things.
It's like, why is this showing to me? I'm like, well, now you're going to get it like more because you just left a comment on a video of two guys, you know, sharing their family. Like, and now you're going to get more because it thinks, oh, negative or positive, you want to see this. And so that's really unfortunate. And I do my best not to let that side of social media get to me because at the end of the day, I'm a husband and I'm a father, and I can't let that negativity eat me up because then it ruins my day. My focus and my thought process is not in where it needs to be, and I don't want that to be taken away from my kids. So for me, if I see something, I automatically just like swipe past it. I usually don't delete it unless you don't
have time for that.
Yeah,
I just find it as like a missed opportunity almost because it's like that's not the audience that I would want my content to go to. That like it's not necessary for them to see it.
No,
I don't think like them seeing two guys kissing or holding hands here is going to necessarily change their whole perspective, but it's just like, no, come on, serve it to the right audience.
Exactly.
Let's go, algorithm.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So the next question I wanted to ask was just with what's changed with the children's, what are things that you're noticing or what are things that you're working on right now with them?
Independence is a big change, as
Mhm.
well as learning to like adjust and realize that they have a sibling. Even though they've been
Oh,
together for so long, I think now at this age they're realizing, oh, there is another small human with me, even though they are my sibling, and I have to share and interact together with my dads, and have to be
just like
okay
this
with that.
conceptualization that there's other people outside of
Hmm.
themselves that
Yeah.
are taking up time and space and resources and needs and
Yep, yep.
yeah,
London in particular has been struggling with it the last maybe few weeks. She's gotten better because again, I had reached out to my community and said, "Hey, like what do you think this is about?
right.
How can we make this better? Or what changes can I do and or recommendations can I do?" And I've been implementing some of those and they've been working. But
Perfect.
her biggest thing is, she's my early riser.
Uh-huh.
So she always wakes up before Brecken. And so people are like, "Why don't you bring down Brecken first?" I'm like, "Well, cuz he's still sleeping." And they used to sleep until 8. Now she's waking up till about 7:30. So I
Mm-hmm.
would love to give Brecken that extra 30 minutes because he loves his sleep.
For sure.
And so I'll bring her down first. She has that one on time with me or Chris, depending on who gets her. We make coffee together. She gets her water. We play, and she has that time. But then when I know it's time to go get Brecken because he's woken up, whether that's 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, or the 30 minutes, um, she has had trouble processing that and wanting to be okay with now, okay, now brother needs to come down. And so she's had quite a few meltdowns,
Mm,
pretty big meltdowns, showing her that she's very displeased that I, one, have to go leave her to go retrieve him. Or if I bring her with me, she's like, no, like, we're not going to his room kind
oh
of thing.
wow.
So
Yeah.
that was in the beginning. Now things are getting a lot better to where I'm like, I have to involve her. I'm like, hey, would you like actually not would you like to, because the one of the things was not to offer her a question
Got it.
if the answer is if her answer is irrelevant, if it's going to be a yes or it has to be a
Right.
no.
Yeah. It's like if you're already doing something,
Hmm.
giving her the option
Yeah,
is
it's
setting her up for being
fail.
upset that
Hmm.
you're doing that
Yeah, because I
thing.
asked her and she said no, but then I went ahead and did it anyway. So that was something that I didn't realize I was even doing. So that was something that
Got
a
it.
lot of moms and parents brought to my attention, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. So now it's like, hey, I'm gonna go upstairs and get Brecken. He's woken up. Do you want to come with me? Because then she can say no, and if not, then I'm like, okay, I have special toys here for you, or your special toys are here for you, so you can play while I go get Brecken. And if she chooses to be like, no, I want to come with, then
Yeah.
that's great. That way, it makes it feel like she's in control and she's making those decisions
That's
for
like the
herself.
distraction
Mhm.
kind of
And
thing.
and now it's really funny because a lot of people have commented that when I go get them from nap or wake them in the morning, I always knock. And it was something that I just started doing. I didn't even realize I was doing it. But a lot of people are like, oh my God, I love that you do that now. So now when I bring London up with me to go get Brecken, I say, let's knock on Brecken's door. And so she's like all excited.
Cute.
But instead of like the nice quiet that I do, she's like, bang, bang, bang. And I'm like, oh God, not that hard. And then she's like, Baba. That's what she calls him. She's like, Baba, wake up. And Brecken's just kind of like, I mean, he doesn't cry, but he's just kind of like, good morning to you too, kind of thing. And that's gotten better. They love seeing each other through like their cribs, and they have that little bit of that interaction. And then we go back downstairs
Got
together,
it.
which is nice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, love that. Anything else with the toddlers right now?
Food is a big thing. Food is ever changing. Things that they used to love eating, like especially
Mm.
when we were introducing solids and actual food to them, not purees and things like
Did
that.
you start with like pretty crazy different foods to try to like expand their flavor profile early on? Or did you start with more simple things just to kind of like ease into it?
More simple.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when we were moving away from not moving away, when we were introducing solids with like their formula, we started with like the little cereal stars,
Yep.
like easy stuff, the little yogurt bites. When they got a little older, we moved over to like fruit. I can never say that together. We moved over to fruit
Fruit
puree. I can never
purees.
say that. We moved over to fruit pouches or purees.
Yep.
That have like mixed fruits or like
Yeah.
fruits and
I've
vegetables.
actually had a few of those.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, they still do very well on those. And then from there was like we would start moving to like softer foods like pancakes.
Mhm.
They eventually meats like pieces of sausage, things like that. Things that Chris and I would make for ourselves, and we would introduce that to them. I wouldn't necessarily make something special for them and something different for
Totally.
Chris.
Yeah.
We wanted to always get them on the same page of like, this is what we're
This is what
making.
we're eating. Yeah.
So, and we're gonna let you try it. Obviously, if it's something that they are just disgusted with, then yes, we might break and give them something separately. But for the most part, when we sit down for lunch or we sit down for dinner as a family, like, this is lunch. And sometimes Brecken specifically, he's kind of like, and he looks away and he
Yeah.
doesn't want it. But then he realizes, like, this is my lunch. Okay,
I'm
I'll
just
eat it.
amazed. Like when I have a niece, and when she was real little, she just like eat a whole avocado.
Oh, they love avocado.
I mean, yeah,
But it's weird. Again, some days they're in love with it, and other days they are not. Like, for a while, we would make taco. We'd do taco night, and we would do like the ground beef with like the taco seasoning and all that stuff. We'd throw in like chopped corn chips, like really small pieces, and then like a little bit of black beans, and mix it up so it would get all soft. And when they were, I don't even know how old, but when we started introducing that to them, they loved it, and they had it like once a week. And then after so many months, they were like, no more
Tired of
taco.
it.
So we're like,
Yeah.
okay, they're not having taco meat for a while.
Right?
Their favorite foods now. London is obsessed with pasta. She calls it the noo-noos.
The new
She
news.
not even like macaroni. Like, she wants the full. Like, when we go to an Italian restaurant, she gets the
She wants
adult
the new news.
tagliatelle bolognese pasta dish, and she will. I have to cut the noodles up and whatnot, but she'll eat about half of it of an
my
adult portion,
God.
and
Wow.
she loves it. Brecken, he doesn't like pasta so much. He loves pizza.
Yeah.
Which is funny because
like Michael. Michael loves pizza too.
yeah,
It's his favorite
and Chris
food.
loves pizza. So it's like, I love the pasta. So does Chris, but I love the pasta with London, and Chris loves the pizza with Brecken.
How are their food preferences changed now then? So what's like the difference now?
So now that they've been introduced to other things like snack, which is
like snack time.
yeah, snack time.
Got it.
Brecken, anytime he's hungry, it could be before breakfast, after breakfast, before lunch, after lunch, whenever, anytime during the day when he wants food, he goes, and he crinkles his face and he goes, snack. And he'll point to the pantry. He goes, snack, snack. Like, and they have their own little baby pantry. And there's like, crackers in there. There's fruit pouches. There's goldfish. I know, no goldfish. It's terrible for the babies, whatever. But they get them in small portions and small amounts. Things like that. They're obsessed. But also,
I also love snack time.
I mean, me too.
Snack time.
Yeah,
time.
that's his favorite thing. And so with the routine, again, they come to expect it. When they wake up from their nap,
Right.
we come downstairs, we check their diapers, and if their diapers are great, then we move on to snack. And it's usually a pouch, an applesauce pouch for Brecken and a prunes pouch for London, just to help keep her, I don't want to say regular because she goes, but sometimes her number twos are not super soft. So we help, the prunes help her. And then from there, they get like their puffs, their goldfish, their fruit. We always give them like a mixture of stuff so they have it. And now that they're old enough, they sit at their own little table and chairs. It's the cutest thing. We got it for Christmas, and it's like their favorite, like, new addition to their supply of toys and things to sit and play on. And yeah, it's so
lots of snacks.
A lot of snacks.
That's kind of like my nephews and nieces too. At least the ones that live in Oregon here, they love snack time, and that is it. I think that's a hard battle when you're moving from very, very, very little tiny babies to toddlers, is getting to the snack time period where it's like, how can I get as much nutrition into these kids when they won't eat like the healthy soft foods or the tiny introductory foods where you could feed them basically anything and they would just eat it. And now they're like, no, I want pizza. I want freaking crackers and cookies and all that. That's so hard.
And that's another thing we still don't do. And there's no judgment to families who do it. We still have not really introduced sugar to them as far as processed sugar.
Sweet.
So,
awesome.
So for their first
Good
birthday,
for you guys.
Thanks. Yeah. Because it's like, once you start
what about the grandparents? Have they?
No.
That's like the hard part for me is like, I could say we are not giving. I mean, I'm going to try to hold sugar off from our future kids as much as possible. But I know my mom is just going to.
I think when they're a certain age and they go to grandma and grandpa's for the weekend,
yeah,
all those rules go out the window. Please keep them safe. Obviously, I would love for them to be able to brush their teeth, but you're on grandma and grandpa time, and you get to spoil and have fun. But like in our home, like when my parents, because my parents currently live with us, they know that if they watch them for Chris and I to go out on a date or something, they know like no sweets. But
and they obey.
And they obey. Yeah, and they obey. I mean, because they
go by your rules.
Because they still have them. They're like, we don't want to give them sugar and then still have to not deal with them, but still have to be with them for the next couple of hours and see this like monster come out.
It's a different dynamic when they live with you.
Yeah. So we're trying to keep the sugar to minimal. I mean, they get a lot of natural sugar with all the fruit that they eat and stuff like that. And for their birthday, they had birthday cake. London didn't want any of it. Brecken like had a bite and that was it.
Yeah.
So for this year, they'll get another cake for their second birthday, but that's really the only time that they get the processed sugar.
Yeah.
We don't give them juice, which some people might be like, well, like that's mostly natural. I'm like, if you can find the all natural stuff.
Right.
But for them, they love their milk, which I know has sugar in it, and they love waters.
Yeah, I'm on the same train. Like I am gonna try to hold off on processed sugars as long as possible with our kids, and I want to feed them those nice sweet potatoes, avocados, healthy foods, all that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to Q&A.
Yay. Okay.
Awesome. Oh, there's some well thought out questions here. I love this. I also feel like, I'm like going into your DMs, but not. These are just questions, but I got your phone. Okay. Kayla Michelle 15 asks, what made you start sharing your life online?
Oh, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Even before kids, I was sharing Chris and I's travels, our marriage, our relationship online, just for fun. I think I had my own Instagram account for the longest time, and I will clarify, Chris is not into social media. He doesn't have Instagram anymore. I mean, he still has it, but he doesn't go on. So it's all mostly me.
Right.
But originally, it was just to kind of bring more visibility to same-sex couples, LGBTQ community, whatever. And then when we started our surrogacy journey, I had wished that there were more resources out there and real couples out there that had gone through it that I could have looked to for advice and ask questions. There are some now that I've met, but before, not really.
Totally.
And surrogacy was still kind of like had a certain stigma for a lot of people, that, especially those that didn't really understand it. IVF always has like this negative stigma, like people are broken. Oh gosh, like I wanted to bring more light to that of like the success of it and how it helps families that look like us and don't look like us.
I feel like we're on the same path still.
Yeah.
Trying to like bring visibility to it.
Yeah, bring visibility, absolutely. And then another thing I wanted to bring more visibility to was parenting from a father's perspective. A lot of blogs and social media accounts that focus on family. A lot of it is the mom that is running it and managing that whole storyline. Which I mean, great, and as she should. I mean, she's creating them in her womb and carrying them and going through the whole pregnancy and all that. But there wasn't a lot of representation in my mind from the dad's side, and I just wanted to kind of show more of like, this is how us dads are raising our twins. Yeah, we're gay dads, but like at the end of the day, we're still just fathers, and our sexual orientation doesn't matter. Like love and kindness and keeping our kids safe and wanting the best for them should be a common denominator for all parents.
I hear that a lot, like in the content world, from creators of the why did you start creating content and sharing these things online? And really, it's just what you said, like the representation. That's huge. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that people do post online and share things, because it's kind of like it doesn't necessarily have to be a demographic, but it can be a different perspective, and they want those perspectives to be represented online. The other aspect of it, I think, is just the ability to share and be seen and to relate with people. I think that community aspect of it, at least for me, that's why I started social media. Like I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to really feel like what was happening in my life was that I had others to relate to, I guess, or that I wasn't alone in my experience.
Yep.
So I see that.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
Yeah, and I will say, like, it's been such a wonderful journey seeing the responses and the reactions from positive reactions, obviously, from people around the world who have said, "Oh my God, you give us hope." Here in my state, here in the United States, surrogacy is still illegal; it's not allowed, or gay marriage is still not allowed in said country. And seeing you and your husband share your life gives me hope to want to try either to hopefully get it past where they live, or to be able to get out and find and have a life where they can be themselves and not be put in jail, or even worse, be put to death, which is really, really sad and unfortunate. It just breaks my heart. But the people that say, you've brought us so much hope, like the other day, I got a message from a mom, and she's like, I've been following you guys since before the babies were born. So like during the surrogacy journey. And at that point, she said in her comment, or in her message, said, we had another miscarriage, and we were devastated by it. And we were heartbroken. And it was something that really took a toll on her emotionally and physically. And I think she had at one point had said, I think we were we were done trying. I just didn't think I had any more in me, any more strength in me to carry on and to do it again. And she's like, seeing your journey and your joy of being this parent, she's like, that's what I want for me. And so she's like, your storytelling gave me the strength to say, you know what, let's keep going. And her husband conceived and now have a very, very healthy baby. Probably not baby anymore, but it
That's amazing.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's powerful. Real
Yeah.
change. Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
And you don't know that you're doing that. You're just being you. And
It goes to show that what you put out online makes a real impact on people.
Mhm.
And I don't see that either as far as like what we put out online. I hope we make an impact, but you never know it until you actually like read it or hear about it. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do another question.
Sure.
Oh, I was also gonna say I love that we kind of know each other from years before surrogacy
Mhm.
in the sense of like 2018, 2019. And we were talking about this last night and I was like, early Instagram. I'm like, that's not early Instagram, but it's like kind of this period of where a lot of gay couples started to share and post more. I guess when I'm looking at this retroactively, I'm like, is that the period that had like, internet has different flavors at different times.
Mhm.
And then in 2018, 2019, we just knew a lot of gay couples online and there started to become this like big community of gay couples sharing things. And now a lot of them are having babies. And I just love to see it.
So much has changed. I mean, that what is it? That's 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So much has changed since
Time
then.
flies.
Absolutely.
All right, next question. Allison and Davies 1A asks, what's your favorite thing about raising twins?
Favorite thing about raising twins? I think the fact that we have two beautiful little munchkins running around our house, and seeing them develop on their own and becoming, independent and becoming their own person, even though they're always together, brings me so much joy. And also just seeing all of the things that we've been trying to teach them, be kind. Obviously, they're really little, but still, like all of those things that we're trying to instill early on, and to see that progress made is really, really, really wonderful to watch. I think one of my favorite moments every day is when I get to wake them up, or if Chris gets to wake them up in the morning, because we're the first and the last person that they see every single day. So to wake them up and just to have them like see us come through the door, and then we make eye contact and we have
Just
that smile, and they're
precious.
just so joyful to be like,
Yeah.
Dada's here, and then just getting into the whole routine from there of like taking off her sleep bag, changing their diaper, making them breakfast, doing all those like little things. It brings me a lot of joy.
Okay, we'll do one more question. This one is from Denise Maman. And she asks, how do you keep it together as a stay-at-home dad?
Well, I don't always keep it together. I definitely try my best, and I always like to make sure. Yeah, I always try to make sure that I voice that to people, because when they see someone like me on social media, they think that I'm a perfect parent, that I'm always on, that I never need not a timeout, that I never need a
break or
a tap out,
downtime or something.
And really, it's day by day, and I have to remind myself, like we're in our 30s, we're full grown adults, our brains are fully developed, and my kids, even though they may be responsive and they may seem like they understand what I'm saying, and we can communicate well, they're toddlers.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself, give them grace, have that patience when you're frustrated because they're doing something, when they look right at you and you're like, please don't do that. And you know that they understand, but they do it anyway.
Again, I do that with Michael. So, I mean, like things don't change.
AKA testing. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, day by day, and I give myself grace, and I also have an amazing partner. Chris is such an amazing husband, but he's an even more amazing father. And he knows that when I'm home, even if it's a good day, it's still exhausting, and both physically and mentally. So when he gets home, he's like, hey, like I haven't seen them all day.
He's there to help.
Let me go upstairs and change
That's
real
important.
fast.
That's huge.
And let's be together. Or if you need 30 minutes to just kind of like go upstairs and decompress and whatnot, you can do that. And I love that I have that support. Like today, like I am the stay-at-home working dad, I guess now too. But I'm here.
You're traveling.
I'm traveling and I'm not at work. And I have a partner again, Chris. He's home with the babes and he's got it covered. You know, a lot of people think like, because they don't see him much, they're like, oh, like how does he do with the kids? Do they prefer you over him? You know, things
Right.
like that. He does so well. I would say his patience level is even greater than mine, which a lot of people are like, really? Like that's you're
Michael's patience level is way above mine.
Yeah, you're
so
already
I'm
so patient. Like
interested.
he's even bigger and like more patient. I was like, yes. But he's so capable of doing it.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit of time, but I had to let go, especially when I would be gone like now, to let him. He's there. He's present with the kids.
Doing his thing.
He's doing his thing. Let him do his thing. And I think sometimes that happens in relationships, you know, between husband, wife, husband, where
it's like a conscious decision that you're like, I'm going to let go of this control and just like.
Because the control is hard, especially when you have it majority of the time and you want things done a certain way, or that you wouldn't do this for Brecken or London, or you wouldn't give this to like those things. So you have to just like, and just let him or her have that opportunity.
You keep talking about these things about babies, and I keep referring to it. I keep thinking of it in my mind. I'm like, this is the same thing with the relationship.
I mean, I'm sure there's similarities to
it is.
to
like,
relationships.
Maybe I should do this with Michael. I need to have more patience with Michael. Blah blah blah.
But yeah, patience is definitely a huge.
I should give him more freedom. Let him do what he wants. I can't have control all the time. If he wants to put the dishes on the top shelf so I can't reach them, then let him do it.
Was it when I was here last time? He put the barbecue tongs away somewhere.
Oh my God, I remember that. I was like, what are you doing?
He's like,
remember he put him over by the door? Who puts grill tongs on the floor by the door?
In a case. And as they go by the grill or they go in the special
and like
specific door.
That's where they belong. I'm like, they don't go in a random spot on the floor in the living room. Are you kidding me? We're going to put them out on the grill, like in a safe place, or they'll go in the garage.
Like Chris says to me, especially when we're getting into not a heated argument, but it's about something with the kids or just us. He's like, remember, pick your battles. Like they're like the whole thing with the tongs thing. Like even though it was like crazy nonsense to you, it's like I need to let that go. Like it's pick my battles. Like
pick your battles.
It's fine. There's bigger things I need to worry or stress about.
I got that advice when I got married too, but pick your battles. I pick all of them.
You pick all of them. Yeah.
I pick all of the battles.
Every incident's a battle.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Bryan, for coming on and sharing all of this. I feel like we just learned a lot.
I'm so happy to be back. It was so great catching up with both of you guys, and I'm so happy that we can continue to share our story and talk it out and all that. So
thanks for being like our first guest of season 2. Yay! And it's in person.
It
Score. Love it. Okay. Well, where can people find you?
You can find us on Instagram at Bryan and Chris. It's Bryan.and.Chris. And then on TikTok and Facebook, it's Bryan and Chris. No punctuation, just all letters. So
that we did that too.
Yeah.
It's Michael Mack.
I think actually that's where I got the inspiration from because I saw how you guys did your handle. I was like, oh, I like that because for some reason Bryan and Chris was already taken. So I was like, I'm going to do it's Bryan and Chris.
Yeah,
like
same.
Michael
like the Michael and Matt. I couldn't do Michael and Matt on Facebook, so I'm like, it's Michael and Matt. Yeah. I think I got that from someone else too. So. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Who's Your Daddy podcast. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and all those places. The link is down in our description. Also, if you'd like, you can leave us a review, a rating. We love that. It's super helpful. It helps us get our podcast to the right ears. Help that algorithm work, you know?
Don't forget to subscribe.
And subscribe. Yes. Thank you. You love it. Okay. So Michael's not here, so I'm going to need your help, Bryan, to close this out. All right?
Great.
We ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Daddy's out.